Hello. There are people here.
Yeah.
This is actually shocking.
How many people actually know us?
All right.
Wow.
Wow.
How many people?
That's a surprising number to us. So thank
This
you.
is like our first panel ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
thanks, guys.
So thank you all for coming here.
Yes.
First of all. So thank you all for coming. We're going to do a few things with this panel. We're all independent filmmakers in the Philadelphia area, so some of you might be aspiring filmmakers, some of you might not be. All of that is totally cool. We're going to first show a few short things that we've done, about 15 minutes of stuff, so you can see what we're talking about in terms of living in 8-bits and Nerd versus Geek. We figured this stuff might play to this crowd. Living in 8-bits being entirely about video games, and this particular episode of Nerd vs. Geek having some video game content and some Dungeons and Dragons related content. It's actually, oh good, so you'll
Thank
like
God.
this. It's actually the world premiere of this. This is episode 10 of Nerd vs. Geek, so yeah, you are the first to see it outside of probably the three of us. And then you'll see a little bit of a film we made for Red 5, a video game company. That's coming out with Firefall in a couple of months. They commissioned this short film, and then you can talk about Connie.
And then a trailer for if anybody's a Living in 8-bits fan, Mr. Greg Belmont himself, Jeff, is his short film that the Living 8-bits crew worked on. So, and we also have cast and crew here, so afterwards you can ask us any questions you want, or if you want to learn about filmmaking or what we do. So yeah.
And direct questions to us and them, and we'll probably call more people up here as we go.
There's a lot of us here, so.
Exactly, so shut up, enjoy.
Crumbling the rocks from the cave-dwelling ceiling and crushing your enemies.
Now we're talking. How does he do that?
Well, he uses his 12-inch gold semi-conical rod and inserts it into the ground spot. They're calling it the diametric infrasonic loom descending. There's 3 seconds.
So
Yes, when they vial to find the ground spot that will cause the eruption while penetrating. Then the task is complete. The energy pack will secrete a white lubricant, preventing ground gas.
Is there a different way to describe it?
And being as direct as was possible.
And this method works?
I've tried it out many times on myself.
I wasn't even drinking anything!
Technical enhancements that have been made.
What game is this?
Irish bare knuckle brawlers. Dig in?
Where do you find these games?
I've got a modest proposal for you. Go f*** yourself.
What class was Luke Skywalker? In Star Wars.
We know who you
What would he have been if he was in Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh God!
Rogue, illusionist, fighter!
No, Han Solo was the rogue. Luke was like a bard or something.
Tearing stuff up, man! He's a fighter all the way!
Okay, in Jedi he was a fighter, but when he's whining about power converters, he's a bard.
So that's just an example, a very small sample of the things that we do as a collective group. I wanted to introduce, like, over there is a whole bunch of people who work on this.
Can everyone stand up who actually had something to do with one of those, or any of those, or have worked with us before?
Yeah. So. Bring them up. Come
Guys,
up
grab
here.
your chairs, come up here behind us, join us.
So that way you got.
That way you can direct questions to anyone involved in any of these projects.
And on top of that,
I'll
there.
hand mics to people.
There are 2 people who are helping us out behind the scenes. Lee is a photographer who helps us out all the time, and Caroline, who is like behind the scenes on everything you see. And she's working the camera right now. So we want to give big props to them.
You may also recognize Lee from Overanalyzers, if anyone is Cinemassacre fans here.
But yeah, we have cast here from Living in 8-bits and Nerd vs. Geek, and just for the record, we work on each other's shows. Yep. So
There's
like we
no
all
rivalry. Well,
Yeah.
not that he knows of. He's
Like-
just trolling you, man.
Yes.
That's all me.
Like Matt and Steph have helped write a couple episodes for Living in 8-bits, and I'm also the DP and editor for Nerd vs. Geek. Jeff has appeared in both. Ponner has worked on both. Look at that. I love how everyone's. This is cool to us. All right.
Thanks for being here.
So, do you guys have questions? Do you want us to talk about what we do? You know.
Yeah, we're opening this up to you guys at this point.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wanted to know about editing programs and things that you can use on home PC for production.
Okay, very valid question. I'll send that one to Mike. Yeah, take it, Mike.
I actually work with Adobe Premiere Pro, CS6. I know there's a lot of people, and I it's probably get stoned in effigy for this, but I hate Macs. I have one because I have to as an editor, but I absolutely hate them. And Mac makes the worst editing software ever, which is Final Cut Pro. And people love it. They swear by it. They use it left and right. I hate it. It is the worst piece of software I've ever used. But I know how to use both. But I prefer Premiere. I think Premiere is a great piece of editing software. It imports every piece of footage natively. It works great. So that's what I personally use. I think Adobe is shooting themselves in the foot, though, because now they're making their software subscription only, where you have to pay monthly, which is kind of like, like after Final Cut released Final Cut X, Adobe and Avid really had a chance to eat up the market, and they did. They ate up a lot of the market. And now Adobe doing this, I think it's going to backfire, but that's my personal.
they're hoping to make the software more accessible by putting it at like I believe a $50 per month price point.
Yeah.
So if you're someone that always upgrades, it might actually be good. I don't know. It depends. If you're an effects person, Adobe After Effects really is probably the top software to do motion graphics.
After Effects is how everything you saw in Dialogue Tree was done. That was all Premiere and After Effects as well.
Sony Vegas is also a great piece of software that's at a little bit of a better price point than.
Yeah, when I'm editing on PC, I actually haven't used Premiere since like 1998 when it was terrible. And I know it's gotten a lot better now, but I use Sony Vegas when I'm editing on a PC, and it does like probably 80 to 90% of what Premiere can do, except the really complex stuff. I use Final Cut when I'm editing on a Mac, but it's gotten problematic recently, and it doesn't, like we shoot with the AF100, it doesn't natively import that footage. At least Final Cut 7 doesn't, X does, but then I have to edit in X, which I'm not a fan of either. So anyway,
Well,
good question.
without boggling it down with gobbledygook of software, my advice, if anybody's doing this for the very, very first time, editing together videos, shooting videos, try freeware before you invest in the really expensive stuff to see if you really like editing. And also, if there's community college classes, leech off of their stuff. Sometimes you could take a class for like $75 and try every single piece of software and then decide for yourself what you really like before you spend like $700-800. So.
And on top of that, if you're a student, you are in a prime position because you can get student discounts on all this software. I mean, like when I was in college, I think I got the Premiere the Creative Suite that had After Effects, Photoshop, Audition, Premiere. I got that for like $400, where it retails for like $2,500.
Right.
So take advantage if you're a student, use your student discounts. And a lot of them are actually really good about trials. I know Adobe allows 30-day trials. I'm sure Sony does the same thing. So yeah, like Steph said, just try it out. So.
Any other questions?
I saw other hands.
Do you do a lot of color correcting to your footage, and is it hard to match? I assume you film with more than just the AF100. I assume you use multiple cameras. Like, I saw somebody had a, I think, 5D Mark II. Do you use more than one camera, and is matching the footage difficult? Because obviously you've got the EF adapter, but so the lenses look similar, but the colors must be hard.
Yeah. Guess I'll take that.
We have
I'm gonna
tech people in the audience. This is
I
like
know,
sexy.
this is tech stuff. All right, we're going in this direction with it. Great.
Steph talk about it just because she can make it sound better?
Yeah, that's right.
Believe it or not, when we shoot, especially Nerd vs. Geek and Living in 8 Bits, we shoot single camera. We generally pick a camera that we're going to go with. So it's like Dialogue Tree was shot on the Red. Nerd vs. Geek. Well,
we
no,
did not
We
have
rented
a
a
red.
red.
We one of Stage 5's requirements of that was that it had to be shot at 4K, which meant none of our cameras could actually do that. And then we had
That's been
to.
so rough.
Yeah, it was awful. Well, I mean, it took up like a quarter of the budget. It was just the camera package. So.
Yeah, it really was.
But I mean, it looks phenomenal. So we're really happy with how it came out.
But this is indie filmmaking
the editor
for
of that
pennies.
isn't here, so I can't speak to color correction for that project, but I'll let Mike talk about the other stuff.
Well, with, I mean, we really try to stay with one single camera. We have tried multiple cameras, and like you said, it doesn't match up. Like, even if you have a different brand of lens, the light that goes in is different. Nikon's capture light so much differently than Canon's. Nikon's probably have better glass, but Canon's make better bodies. So it's a preference. So we shoot single. What I do color correcting. I try to bump the contrast a little bit. I'll probably desaturate it a little bit because digital cameras tend to really oversaturate the color. But there was one Living in 8 Bits episode where we did shoot multiple cameras, and that was the Robot Master Auditions episode, because we shot the bulk of it in one day, and that was before I actually had the AF100, so I was using Matt's camera, but he had to take it for a gig the next day because Jobo Cop, who can't be here today, had to film the next day. So that was actually shot with a Canon 7D, all of his stuff, and it was not easy matching it up because they look extremely different. But if you didn't notice, then I did well. But we really try to, other than like basic things like desaturating maybe a little bit or contrast, we really try to shoot for in camera and keep it the way it is. So like we establish the look.
Even the season finale of Nerd vs. Geek, which comes out in a month, was shot with 2 cameras, but they were both AF100s. At this point, I have one and Mike has one because.
And James has like.
Well, James, we work with James Rolfe a lot, and he has 3, I think, between him and Mike Matei and other people on that team. So, fortunately, we're all able to kind of use one another's cameras. I think both our cameras were used on the ABGN movie.
Yeah, there are a couple shots where there are 5 cameras.
Shots. Yeah,
and that's between all of us.
Yeah, unnecessary. Yes.
I was gonna say, you said you both own AF100s. I see you got the Panasonic Geek 2 over here. What do you guys like using best? Because I'm at AI right now, and they provide all like Panasonic gear. I want to see if there's like, if you guys have any preference. Since
It depends if you're doing live events versus, set up shots, because we like to use the zoom lenses on this guy for live events. We originally started our company documenting live events, doing like a lot of concerts and things like that. So that's the equipment we had on hand. I don't think cinematically it looks as good, but it's just really quick on the fly.
For film stuff as opposed to event stuff or video stuff, I certainly like the AF100 a lot. I like interchangeable lenses and the flexibility that gives now. But for something like a live event, you can't be flipping out lenses all the time and stuff, so it doesn't make as much sense. Mike?
I've been a loyal Panasonic guy since there were palm quarters and the mini DV first came out. Like I got the DVX when it first came out. I have the HVX and the AF. It really kind of depends. I like using different cameras for different reasons, just like Matt and Steph said. For live event stuff, I mean, Caroline's using that camera right now because you can zoom in and out. You're not losing stops as you're zooming in and out. You're not having to constantly change the ISO, and you're not have to constantly focus every time because there's not such a deep focus. So there's a lot of, it really depends on the circumstance. But for all of our cinematic stuff, we've been using the AF since November, and I mean we've used it on God knows how many things now.
Yeah, at this point that's kind of the backup camera. I mean, for the most part, that you shot most of Living in 8 Bits with that. And then this past year we just both decided it was time to upgrade our stuff. I had a Canon XHA1 that I was perfectly happy with for stuff, but it's not quite the same look.
Yeah, for a couple episodes actually of Living in 8 Bits before we went full AF, and Carmen Ponner and Jeff can speak to this as well. We were using that camera with a lettuce adapter on there, which was this monstrosity of a camera.
Do you guys know what that is? Okay.
It's an adapter that allows us to put 35mm lenses on that camera, so it gives it a more cinematic depth of field look. And I mean, that camera was what, like
35 pounds, right?
Yeah, that was a whole contraption.
Yeah, it was literally like this big.
And that can actually give you back problems. Is something you need to take into consideration. If you're just shooting all day, it can actually affect your health.
Yeah, we shot a full feature with that rig. Yeah, it just was, So it really, to sum it all up, it comes down to preference.
And the GH2, just so you know, I got a GH2 and the lenses are compatible with the AF, so I can take still photos.
Right, that's a DSLR camera.
Yeah, but it's really nice to have that flexibility.
I saw a hand here.
Nice shirt.
Do Do you have any advice for getting started with indie filmmaking?
What we learned going to art school is that we stopped making film after college. A lot of people did because you have to go get like a real job so you can eat food and stuff. But also, if you're not in school necessarily and not surrounded by other artists, it's really, really hard to do what we do. You can't really do it by yourself unless you're James Rolfe. But we started a nonprofit called Project 21, and especially if you guys are local, we highly suggest getting involved. We have a free networking event coming up on August 3rd. Mark your calendar at Mixed Plate on South Street, which is like 2nd and South at 2 p.m. You can check out the website, project, the word 20 and the number 1.org. Basically, you walk on in and you get a sticker that says filmmaker, or actor, or animator, or writer, or musician, and everybody there is there to meet and start a film production that day. It is the best way to get involved in independent filmmaking in the entire city, and all of the films get theatrical exhibition that are created over the 21-day process. It's basically a 21-day filmmaking competition. Even if you don't participate in our nonprofit, other programs that are like it, the 48-hour film project is great. Basically, even if you go on Craigslist or film.org is really a great way to see opportunities that are going on. That's actually Philadelphia Film Office owns the domain film.org, and it's all the local productions. Get on as many things as possible. If you don't have a resume or a big body of work, either volunteer for like narrative fiction projects, like passion projects, or for like charitable things. Don't work for free for corporate. It devalues our whole industry, because then that's why starving artists are starving, because we're willing to work for free for big corporations. Don't do that, but work with other independent filmmakers. There's a reason why Tim Burton always works with Johnny Depp, because probably when they were both like starving to death and weren't getting these huge budgets, they worked together and they didn't cause each other drama. So that's how it kind of works. You got to get started with a team and then you grow together. I mean, that's why we all work together all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
if you took a look at the trailer for Connie, which was at the end, and you said that's made by the guys who make Living in 8 Bits, that's Greg Belmont, you probably they don't look the same, but we all know each other, and Ponder and I have been friends since the 3rd grade. We've been making movies ever since then. I've known Carmen since college. I met Jeff.
Where are those movies? Where are the 3rd grade movies?
Oh, they exist.
You should do that at the next panel.
But we all have met each other just by doing this. I met Matt through Project 21 because I made a feature which Carmen worked on.
He won, actually. He won Best Feature. No Footing. Check out nofooting.com.
But yeah, and that's how we all meet each other and work. I mean,
It's a lot of meeting people and just going out and doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of, I would say, more vaguely than any of that. I went to film school. Stephanie went to animation school. You went to film school, yes.
Yeah.
There's some stuff to be said for that, but honestly, I personally learned a lot more every time I just picked up a camera and went out and started shooting stuff and then editing it. Way more helpful than anything you learn in a classroom, because you look at it and you're like, that was garbage. How do I do that better? And then you fixed one thing. So like the first film I shot was all these wide shots and they're all shot from up here. And then I looked at that and I'm like, oh, that's wrong. And then my next film was all close-ups and that was all wrong. So, you learn a little bit every time.
do not be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Because you know what?
Awesome mistakes.
You will fail at this, and
people will be mean to you about it
gosh.
too. Don't listen to the
Don't
machine,
listen to the
guys.
internet. Also
Don't.
important.
But the first comment, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Oh,
First
I'll
comment
tell
he
the
ever
story.
got. Oh yeah, you tell.
So
it.
I made a film in 2003, and when YouTube started, I guess 2005 or 6 or whenever it was, I was like, I guess I'll put that online. And I was really proud of it, and it was my favorite thing I'd made. And I put it online, and it got no views and no comments for months. Eventually, I got an email that like, someone's commented on your movie. I'm like, oh great, and I go to YouTube and look at it, and it says, "Tat sucked." T-A-T. And 2 days later, my second comment was, "Gay." So I'm like, well, that's my filmmaking career off to a good start here. So, just
tell.
yeah. So just keep making them, and you know it gets better with time.
And you learn from it. I mean, if you make one and you fail, you just move on and make a better one. I mean, we've done that God knows how many times here. I mean, hell, we actually shot near like 4 or 5 episodes of Nerd vs. Geek that no one has ever seen because, and we redid it. Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to make a mistake, and you move on and you keep doing it. And you come back better and stronger.
There's always people who aren't gonna like your stuff, but you do eventually find your niche, and there are people out there who
trying to
do
weed
the
his
same
way
things
out.
you do. And you just gotta keep trying.
How hard is it for you guys to find locations?
Location. That's a really good question. Okay, I want to hear. Jeff's here.
Yeah, you guys can come in and chime in.
Yeah.
For Connie, the scene in the very beginning where she's talking to the police officer, Mike and I, we had a good time. We were filming that. We had to get it done in 2 weeks. We had one day to do that shot, that whole scene. And I had one location in Philly booked for it, but the guy never got back to me. So like I'm texting him, he's a professional acquaintance. But how many times can you text someone before that guy's never gonna work with you again? Not many. So when it's coming down to the wire and you need your location now, or you're gonna freak out, you freak out. And I did.
That's right. I remember Jeff calling me like, I need a
4
location
times I
tomorrow. Yeah, I saw you had a jail in Dialogue Tree. Can I have that jail tomorrow? I was like, probably not.
You have to be willing to ask the hard questions that you don't want to ask. Pride, screw pride. It doesn't exist because you gotta beg. Yeah, the day before we had to shoot the scene, or else we weren't gonna be able to make this festival that we wanted to do. The day before, and I had to work at like 10 a.m. So me and Mike went over to this location that he had, and it was literally perfect. I was looking for like a lobby to do a fight scene in, a lot of space, because I'm 6'4" and I'm large, so I can't do it in a closet, like a little walkway. I had a couple of locations I could have booked easily, but I just can't do that.
Revelio would be your stunt double.
Ro would have had to be my Can you stand up please real quick? Stand up please real quick so they can get an idea on my stunt double. See what I'm saying? But he's better at spin kicks than I am. That's why I didn't write any in there. But we literally were standing there, and I remember just standing there thinking, shaking, standing in there like, thank you God, because it was perfect. I mean, it looked like a waiting area as opposed to a police station, but when you're in Jersey, they all do anyway. No offense to Jersey, but step your police game up. But it was literally a miracle. Don't be afraid to punt and ask people for help in locations. The other locations, I had a bar for Connie. Literally all I had to do was call my buddy who was in a band that played that bar all the time, and they treat us like royalty. Lazy Lanigans in Sewell, New Jersey. I think it's Blackwood or Sewell? Sewell, New Jersey.
And it was also the week before St. Patty's Day,
Yeah,
mind you.
They let us in. Can we turn off all your beer coolers because it's creating sound for the mics? Yeah, sure. Whatever we wanted. They were awesome. We only had.
They had a
4
christening coming in
They
at
had a
noon.
They told guests they could not come in because we were filming. They delayed opening an hour. I put one of my producers outside to just corral the people and like, yeah, you're a comedian, make them laugh, Like,
And, yeah, the windows were blacked out.
Yeah,
they
we
had
had trash
makeup
bags
with
on all
black
over.
eyes and blood all over them.
I was beat to hell. I got my head taken off at the bar, and it was great. They were the staff was there. They didn't set up the restaurant. They were watching our fight choreography on the security camera. All right. And the house location, just I was at a house party with a friend. It's like, can I film a movie here? Always ask that question because even if you don't need to film there, because
one day you will.
You will.
Yeah, you
And
will.
I swear to God. I swear to
Absolutely.
God.
You know what?
It works.
Take photos if you see a
Yes.
location.
Yeah.
Matt and
Yeah.
I were location scouting.
I already got photos of this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were location scouting for another film in the local park where we shoot every Living in 8 Bits episode, and we found a great location for another short film that was commissioned by, what is it called, Red 5?
Red 5.
Red 5, all right.
So yeah.
Okay. Thank you for this.
Yeah. I had a thing. Yeah, I mean, we shoot a lot of what we shoot in locations we have already. Our houses, friends' houses. Someone we know owns a bar, and we'll shoot there. But like when we needed a bar for Nerd vs. Geek, we just put out like a thing on Facebook. We need a bar. Where can we go that has a bar? And like Ro and a couple of other people. Yeah, did you have something?
Oh, I just wanted to mention something about that.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
We're not gonna let Steph talk. That's okay.
I talk too much, guys, really.
Facebook and Twitter, a lot of artistic people like to go, I don't like social media, that's too mainstream. They're your best assets ever. I avoided Twitter for the first 4 years of my career, my professional life, and then I realized it's important because people want to follow you and they want to see your work as filmmakers, as actors, as sound engineers, as anything. And it's good for you just to know, to be able to ask for favors or just to say thanks after you work with a whole group of people on Twitter. It makes them feel good inside. Same for Facebook. Have those pages exist and let people find you for location scouting, for finding work, and just for networking in general. It's really helped me, and I know it's helped all of them as well.
What I found, because I do a lot of production management, and I actually run a listserv, so if you guys need help with casting or crewing or finding locations, my stage name was supposed to be Susie Filmmaker. Now they're using my real name and things, so don't stalk me, please. But if you find Susie Filmmaker on Facebook, she has like 6,000 followers, and they're all people in the industry or people that want to get into the industry and want to give their houses for free, give their locations for free. Bars, especially, and restaurants want to rent to you because they want the free advertising. And then if this is your career, stay really organized. I have a Google Doc just called Location Database of the name, contact info, address, and links to pictures of every single location we use or plan to use, because it comes up, guys, and it saved us hours of time before. So I guess that's it.
I want to say one thing about what you said. Susie Filmmaker is legit. Not only do people think she's an actual person, but she actually gets things done. For Connie, my makeup artist, she broke her arm that week, and I needed one that friggin' day that wasn't going to rob me. And she posted Jeff Owens is looking for a makeup artist for Blood Special Effects. That night, I had somebody, and it was legit. So if you need like emergency cast anything, Susie Filmmaker, and if they can blast it out, you're gold.
Anybody else?
Does anyone have questions about the specific things, or for the actors, or any of that?
I see two
Who's got a
hands.
question?
Let's go, ladies first.
Well, mine was, do you have a story writing process?
Carmen. Do you want to go? Actually, there's interesting stories from both sides of this. So
there's a bunch of different ways you can go about writing a story. You know, you hear about a bunch of different ways, like, you know, sitting around with a tape recorder and just kind of go and toss ideas around. You know, every one of us here has ideas. You can take stuff from like your personal life, bubble it up. Oh boy, you got something you want to say?
No.
Okay. I mean, to be kind of PC about it, you know, drink a few beers and sit down and just go.
Yes.
Like we get a lot of stuff from, you know, just being together. Like we did a special thing where we did Blades of Steel tournament, and off screen we're just like shooting ideas back and forth with each other. Like,
Yeah, we wrote an episode during that Mike doesn't understand, but I will make it.
We have one in the works with, you know, it started with yo-yo, you know, it's like it's Jobo Cup with the yo-yo. We were talking about, it's like, oh, we should do that, you know. Not to lie, we had like, you know, we had a case of beer we had finished, and we're like, yeah, just keep going with this, you know, and it works.
I mean, a couple weeks ago, we just got together and we just played video games, and we just wrote, and I had my computer there, and we just typed in a doc.
Me, Mike, and Connor.
Yeah, just here's an idea.
My favorite Living in 8-Bit stories are the ones where the script is, none of us are like, well, here's the script, but we don't have any idea. Example, the Commando episodes where I'm the photographer and he's the Commando. Not much of that's written. A lot of it's just go. Just you get on camera and then all of a sudden, oh, can I say this? Can I say this? And then your outtake reel is longer than your episode, but you get it done.
Well, give him an example.
Which one?
Just Commando and photographer.
Okay,
right?
Go ahead. Somebody yell out a situation.
Oh God.
Oh, no.
Are we really
This
gonna
is
do
happening.
Keep it under 20 minutes.
Yeah, since we have 10 minutes
What was
left
that?
of the thing.
Castle
I
Dracula.
cannot believe how much awesome things for you to stand in front of and shoot and look badass in this castle.
Well, there comes a time when I gotta stand in front of something. You know, I can't just stand here. I gotta imagine that there's a castle here.
Right.
And I gotta kind of go.
Well, now you benefit from there actually being a castle with many things inside of it.
I gotta aim it here though, because the guys are coming from.
It doesn't matter where you aim. It looks fantastic.
Well, if I aim this way, I can only aim at 45 degrees every way.
That's fine.
Because this is not, and there's nobody ever up here.
No one's ever above you.
Here.
They're always
I
in
gotta
front
back
of you
up
coming at you.
because I gotta aim it kind of this way.
Right.
And if I'm not, and you gotta move back
Okay.
and forth. And you go from there.
So,
we don't have to
stop. To give you an idea, we have these mics up here. We put these mics on them for Living in 8-Bit, just lav mics. So we get separate channels of this, and that's what. But a lot of times, this is how we just write it. We just get together and do this. And it's funny because a lot of times the stuff that we really put a lot of time into always takes the longest, and the stuff that's spur of the moment like that gets the best material.
3 hours worth of extra footage.
I will say, Nerd vs. Geek is entirely scripted, but
Yeah.
And it feels
We
more
prefer
scripted.
scripted,
We tend
honestly.
to flourish a little better that way. We're not as good at improv. At least I'm not personally. There may be some improv people behind me, but the interesting part about the story writing process of that show was. And I think our cast knows this, that kind of the characters were based on the cast. So
From their audition.
Yeah.
From their audition a little. So what happened
So here's
was,
what went down.
we had like Mike mentioned, there were a few episodes of the show that existed that no one has seen because in our brains they were mostly Steph and me and they weren't really as good. We felt like we really
suck at
wanted
it.
an ensemble cast and that's what we wanted to do.
Jordan
you know.
appeared for like 2 lines.
That's
in one of
true.
them.
Jordan was
Well,
in
Jordan's
one
a
for 2
professional
lines.
actor.
Jordan's a real actor. He's
Yeah.
not just some guy.
Yeah. Actually, all of them here pretty much are. Like, you'll see them in other things.
You'll
not.
only see us in this ever. So,
Yeah.
The rest
Like
of them,
Rob's
other
on
things.
TV like all the time. Rogelio's on a show called Dancing on Air. Like these guys are professionals.
But yeah, the actors came in and tried out, and like many people tried out for Nerd vs. Geek, but the people who we liked were the people who were obviously the best actors there, but also we started asking follow-up questions. What kind of, like, are you actually a nerd? Because we didn't want to fake it.
No.
Are you, let me hear your version of this.
Okay. Remind me about yesterday if I forget while I'm holding the mic. Yesterday, okay?
Okay.
But I don't want
Seem
to
so far away.
make an ugly non-segue here.
That's fine.
In the auditions, we came into Cinemore Studios location, and he said, well, tell me about what your ideal character would be like. And at the time I was working accidentally for 5 Hour Energy in Philadelphia, helping the market, literally accidentally. My friend worked there, and she's like, just come one day, we'll give you some free samples. And then I worked there for 4 months. So I always had free 5 Hour Energy in my car, and I was like, you guys want some? I have some extra if you're a little tired. And now Greg, who is Matt's brother on the show, works for Shiny Grape, which is an energy drink. If you've seen episode 9, they try to go to a rap convention, they end up going to a Klingon, and it's Crunk, it's an acronym.
Krunka. Chiptunes remixes Underground Nerdcore and Klingon Festival. Krunka.
But they think they're going Crunk. It turns out it's a great episode. You should all go watch it right now. But
In
on
10
your
minutes.
phone,
10
on your
minutes.
phone right now.
Sure.
Also features a great hip opera B story to it as well.
Oh, so there's a reason for this filmmaking, guys.
Sarah had a
Oh,
thing
sorry.
to say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Apple.
And everybody's here?
One of my favorite episodes, and I'm super biased, actually came in right out of my audition. They said, okay, well, if you could film anything, what would it be? And I was like, I really always wanted to play one of those badass superheroes. And so they wrote me into an episode as a badass superhero, and it was really awesome. So you should watch it.
You didn't say I want to be a badass superhero. You said I want to be a superhero running in high heels because I run great in high heels.
Right. That was one of her
Actually
skills,
said.
like on the resume,
Yeah.
apparently. So
Yeah.
we were like, well, that's great, but it's not really nerdy, so we made it a dream sequence. So her character wants to be the action hero. She's like, you actually made me the exact opposite of the character I wanted to be, but it works for that one scene perfectly.
There's a reason we sort of did it this way. I mean, we've written characters before for a lot of one-off shorts, and usually we put out the casting call that we're looking for this type and blah, 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 and find people that fit in that genre. With something that's episodic in a series like ours that did not meet its Kickstarter, like we tried to fund it so that we could pay everybody like just $100 a day just to be there. We didn't make it, so we are all volunteers. So we said, shoot, how do we get folks to really commit? Because if somebody drops out in the middle of your series, you're kind of screwed. So we realized if we wacky Mad Libs this thing, which I don't know if you guys know what that is, it shows my age. If we wacky Mad Libs this thing and write a character specifically for our cast and like sort of do it that way as collaborative, then they're gonna feel sort of an ownership of that character and like maybe not leave us.
We got 5 minutes, so I
Okay.
want to let you finish
Yeah.
your story and then take one more question.
Oh, it's not a story, it's just a note to anyone who's getting into filmmaking. Don't let people push you around, especially when you don't have a budget. It's very easy for the people who are letting you use their location or showing up as actors to say, I'm not going to stay the whole day, even though you asked me for the whole day. Or the location people to be like, well, we need, but if you've agreed to something or something has let you do something for the day, hold them to that. And
Get it in
just
writing.
Respect
Really?
yourselves. Always respect yourselves. It's so important for when you're starting out. I was in a situation yesterday where I was hired as a photo double on a TV show, and then they asked me to jump off of a 6-foot-high ladder. And that's stunt work, because 6 feet plus my height is 12 feet, and I'm afraid of heights. And that's not what I was hired to do yesterday, and it was a very uncomfortable moment. But just make sure you always respect yourselves, because it's okay to say no as long as you were hired to do the work that you're showing up to do, in all respects of filmmaking.
Cool. One last question. Yes.
A couple of months ago, a couple of my game-oriented YouTube partners got under fire for, like, when they sign contracts with people, they basically own all the work and the original creator has none of it. So when you guys start out, like I know Living in 8 Bits has some work is on Screw Attack. For networks, distribution channels, partners, like what have you found is most helpful and how to get that sort of access? Like how to
Well, for us, we're actually not officially signed or affiliated with any specific place. With Screw Attack, when we created the series, I just dropped an email to Craig and said, "Hey, check this out. You might enjoy this." He's like, "Post it on Screw Attack. We'll feature it." And really just came about that way. And a lot of the places that Living in 8 Bits gets featured on are people who are coming to us just asking us to post it and they'll feature it. Like we've become good friends now with Gamester81. We were on RetroWare a couple times. Screw Attack's probably been one of our biggest supporters in that respect. But we're not officially signed with any of them.
Generally, what we've noticed is there are a lot of distributors out there that want exclusive content and don't want to pay for it. Yep. That's not really worth it for us. We have a YouTube channel which at least gets, a penny for every 1,000 views or whatever, and it's more worth it for us to have our stuff up on Cinevore's YouTube channel in that case. If someone wants to non-exclusively throw it up on their channel like Screw Attack does with Living in 8 Bits, that's up to us on a given basis, but usually that's fine because it's just more views or something and more exposure for the show, which in this case, at our stage, we certainly need that. If there is a company like, in this case, Red 5 that wants, in that they have Dialogue Tree. We own the content, but they have that for a year. That's exclusively on their channel because they're trying to build their channel. So they paid us up front to make that, and then they can have the video for a year. And after a year, the rights come back to us, and they can choose to buy it, I think, for another year after that if they want. But
great. That would be awesome.
Which would be awesome, because what do I care? I made it, and we got to give everyone a little bit of money for it, which was nice and
we
refreshing
promote
change.
A full channel,
Yeah.
like being on other people's channel is good. Cross promotion is good. Always look at other filmmakers as not your competition, but your partners in crime. Cross promote each other all the time.
I mean, we're on each other. We do that with both our series. I mean, that's why you see Jeff on Nerd vs. Geek, and then you'll see Matt and Steph in Living in 8 Bits, or like we've gotten like Brennel. Is it okay to say?
Yeah.
Brendel Floss is in an upcoming Nerd vs. Geek.
Yeah.
We've had James in the Living in 8 Bits. We've had Gamester81 in it. We've had the Game Chasers, and Game Chasers were in Nerd vs. Geek. Honestly, a lot of these people are just good and approachable. You just send them an email and just talk to them. You don't go like, "Hey, can you help me out?" You just get to know them. Or you come to conventions like this and just get to know them. And that's how we develop these relationships with them and get these which lead to these outlets.
I know we have to clear out for the next panel, but we're happy to keep answering questions out in the hall if people have other questions. And
or where you can probably be a good place, because I don't want to.
Yeah, we don't want to block this.
We're set up by Next Level Video Games booth, and there's it's in the back. It's actually not far from the Screw Attack booth, and where Keith Apcarry's booth will be. We'll be around that area for a lot of the day, so feel free to come and talk to us.
We'll also, Matt and I will be roasting James Rolfe this evening at the after party, so enjoy that. That will be.
And thank you all so much for coming and being here.
This is awesome.
This is
really
awesome.
great. Thank you so much.